everyone. We are back. The South End Zone. I am Chad. He is Tyler. And already, despite the fact that they threw garbage at the wall for us this past weekend in week 0, week 1 is upon us. More garbage is coming our way, but we are here to sift through the garbage and find you the nuggets like Tyler did last week, where he absolutely nailed the one lock pick that we had for last week, the FSU Georgia Tech under. It hit. It smashed. They got me a little worried at halftime. A 60-yard field goal that made it to where I was like, man, if they put up 2 touchdowns apiece in the second half, we're cooked. But hey, man, you saw it, and it happened.
Yep, they scored. So both teams scored on their opening drives of the game. I'm like, uh-oh. Not only that, did Florida State go for 2 on the first drive of the game?
I was about to say, well, we were about to get cooked by a 2-point conversion and a 60-yard at the horn field goal. Like, what are you doing?
And I'm like,
I hate Ireland.
Look at each other. Me and my brother look at each other. We're like, is this already? Like, first drive? Are we just done?
Right.
Like, and it's like, and it totally held on. Florida State should not have been ranked inside the top 10 or top 15.
Right.
They were 11, 10 in that game?
Yeah. 10.
Too high. Whatever it was too high.
Yeah.
DJU, possibly fraud watch. He's this third program, and he has all like the physical. He's a physical specimen.
Yeah.
That really cannot play quarterback that well. And I'm not a quarterback guru, but like they didn't really give them any opportunities to throw the ball down the field, and he showed us why in the few opportunities he did get. Yeah. Florida State, neither team could tackle in the first half. That was true. And Florida State kept not being able to tackle the entire game. Georgia Tech, Haynes King, quarterback, not bad, first of all.
No, not bad.
They had like a serviceable offense.
He was solid at A&M
when he was there. Bad.
But he was in the Jimbo Fisher era where he's got that Spurrier hook where it's just like he'll play musical quarterbacks within a game.
And he is like a solid quarterback. Dude, Georgia Tech has the most linebacker-looking linebacker I've seen with the cowboy collar, war paint all over his face. He was all over the field.
I felt like I was watching an 80s game. Like it was Brian Bosworth or something out there, you know?
Like literally like neck roll. He had like no neck roll, and he was just all over the field. The only person that really could tackle in that game, if we're being honest. And you can look like that, you got to make some tackles. I think, honestly, you never know how it's going to go overseas. Ireland, that game turned out pretty great compared to sending Notre Dame and like Navy over there to just have a crapshoot of a game. Well worth it. But yeah, shout out to the under. We're 1-0 on our picks for the season.
Right.
Now we're going to move on.
Let's really put that at risk this week because I have a doozy. This one it's not just one game. It's not just one piece of a game either. It's going to go a little bit crazier than that. But I think it's worth doing this because I smell something in the Dakotas. I don't know about you, but I just went. I teased this, and I think it might work. These lines were at 9.5, and so I teased it a field goal, get it to 12.5. That's at plus 160, a parlay of North Dakota State and South Dakota State at plus 12.5 each. That's plus 160. Then you can go to. As soon as I did that and got the odds on that, the line switched and it went from 9.5 to 10.5 for North Dakota State. So actually now you can go get this at plus 263. I probably could have gotten that 12.5 parlay a little bit better than plus 160. It's probably in the plus 170, 175 range now. But anyway, North Dakota State plus 10.5 and South Dakota State plus 9.5, no tees. And that's at plus 263. And so, just like a little sprinkle, if you want, on the money lines of those games. That's at plus 1440 if you parlay those two money lines together. So that's kind of where I'm leaning right now. I think both of those games, North Dakota State playing Colorado, a lot of hype around Colorado. And you saw what they did last year against TCU, the defending national runner-up. And they really kind of burst onto the scene, went 3-0 to start the season. Everybody was hyping them up. And then they went 1-8 the rest of the season. And so I'm looking at that one a little sideways. Oklahoma State playing against South Dakota State. We know that they always find a way to lay an egg. They'll beat Oklahoma, but then they'll
lose to South Alabama
last year, right? So, and it was bad too. It was like 35-7.
They got beat.
So I'm looking at this and I'm saying this is worth a little sprinkle of something to see if maybe both of these teams, because North Dakota State and South Dakota State, Tyler, are not your grandmother's FCS schools.
Powerhouses, national champ, multi-time national champs in the FCS. These are teams that probably could and should be FBS schools, but they're not. They're just going to keep winning FCS national championships and be happy and pump out Carson Wentz and things of the sort.
Right.
The 20 and up is that you and I did not talk about this before this show, but I also sprinkled the money lines for both of those because those are both very winnable games week one against teams that, like, I hope they're not overlooking these two teams because they will walk into your house and beat you and never think twice about it.
Yep.
And there's NFL talent on both those rosters. You can almost guarantee that. Like, that money line sprinkle, as opposed to, like, there's a lot of, like, top 25 versus no-name team, top 20. But these are not no-name teams. We're talking about, like you said, multi-time FCS national championship winning squads. So, yeah, I love that play for this.
They're better than probably, I don't know, 15 or 20 of the actual FBS schools that are in the FBS. So, so this is not, do not overlook these teams. But look, you know what the nature of this show is.
Yep.
It's an LSU Georgia show. So we're not going to talk about other stuff all that much. We're going to get into it every week. We're going to, highlight the big games outside the conference, but we're really going to hit the SEC for the most part, but we're really going to focus on my alma mater, LSU, and Tyler's favorite team, the Georgia Bulldogs. And so with that, we will go. Well, first of all, let me remind everybody. So we are brought to you by Men of Order, where you can get we got the Flow for your cognitive support. We got Apex for testosterone and strength support. All natural, no fillers. Just hit menoforder.com and go check it out and see what you think. But anyway, moving right along, I want to get into this big game. We've been waiting for it for a long time here in Tigerland because, look, there's some bad blood between these two schools. They've only played twice in the history of both programs, back in the 70s and then again in the 80s. LSU lost the first one. I think it was 17-12 in Baton Rouge, actually, and then went back and went to Los Angeles and beat the brakes off of them, I think 23-3 in the 80s. So the series is tied 1-1, but the bad blood has nothing to do with that. The bad blood comes from 2003 when these imposters from California tried to claim half of our national championship that we won on the biggest stage, playing against the defending national champion Oklahoma Sooners in a actual BCS national championship game. The AP decided that they were just going to give USC a share of the national title, even though that was in the BCS era, where that was the whole point of the BCS system, was to do away with these split national championships and the voting having all that stuff to do with it and everything. So LSU actually won the national championship. USC claimed because the AP gave them a mythical national championship that they won one. Yeah, so some bad blood. Anyway, LSU travels out to Vegas. I think they may be leaving today. Flying out to Vegas to get out there and play against the Trojans. So it's a neutral site game, but it is, of course, it's a little closer to like when you guys play in Athens or when we play in the Superdome in New Orleans.
Yeah,
it's a neutral site game, but it's really more of a home game. Not a long drive from LA to Las Vegas, but I think the crowd should be pretty close to even because LSU fans, we travel well.
Yep.
And this one's going to be interesting. And it's kind of cool because these are two teams that are very, very similar. You got two third-year coaches, Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly. Okay. You have two teams coming off of Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks and filling in with a new guy. So you got Caleb Williams won the Heisman Trophy 2 years ago. Jaden Daniels won the Heisman Trophy last year. They're both gone. And now you've got Miller Moss at USC going up against Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. And Tyler, Garrett Nussmeier can get it done. He lit you guys up for about almost 300 in the SEC championship game in like a half a couple of years ago.
And what was the score?
Oh, shut up. We're not going to talk about that. We just got 3 touchdowns. Who cares? But he put up numbers. That's the point. Y'all were already boat racing us at that point. Before. He actually kept us in the game. It gave us a shot.
Because Jalen Carter carried Jaden Daniels off on his shoulder, and then that rest was history. Yeah.
Yeah, and Daniels was hurt coming into that game anyway because he had gotten hurt against Texas A&M a few weeks before that, or the week before that.
Anyway.
So he didn't last long in that game. But so can these quarterbacks step into these offenses and kind of keep the machine going? Because both of these squads had really good offensive seasons last year. Obviously LSU had a better offensive season than USC did. But Lincoln Riley likes to put up points, likes to move the ball, and he's gonna hang points on the board one way or another. And the other thing these teams have in common is they struggled mightily on defense last year, and so they both bring in new defensive coordinators and trying to plug the holes and see if they can do a little bit better job. I don't think I can expect LSU to have, like a top 10 defense or anything like that anytime soon. Maybe this next recruiting class or two can get us there in a couple of years. But I'm just looking for give me a top 30 to top 50 in the country defense so that we can actually not
seriously.
Like last year, it was literally I'm just expecting the opposition to score every possession. And so I'm just here to watch to see if we can keep up with them and score every possession too, and maybe get a turnover here or there, and maybe every now and then get a miracle, force a punt. But we didn't force a whole lot of punts. We didn't punt the ball a whole lot either, but we didn't force a whole lot of punts for sure. So big question marks on offense because you have a lot of weapons and quarterback, some stud Heisman Trophy, college football Hall of Fame level talent leaving the program, and you got to fill those shoes. And then you have, receivers and other weapons. USC's, their starting running back isn't coming back. LSU, on the other hand, does have their starting running back coming back. Actually, the top two guys, Caleb Jackson and Josh Williams. Josh Williams getting the vaunted number 18 jersey that gets handed down to the guy who kind of is the most deserving as exemplary LSU Tiger, type guy. He gets that on the offensive side of the ball, and on the defensive side of the ball, it's Greg Penn, linebacker. And then, of course, Harold Perkins got number 7, and Will Campbell got the number 7 on the offensive side. But he has to wear it as a patch because as an offensive lineman, he has to wear his number 66.
Gotcha.
He can't wear a 7 as a no lineman.
But
yeah. So, but to that point, that offensive line, because across the board, you've got some studs, road graders, and really good pass protections. Possibly the best offensive line in the country with Will Campbell and Emory Jones at the bookend tackles. And then you got Garrett Dellinger at left tackle, Miles Frazier at the right tackle, and DJ Chester at center. Miles Frazier a little dinged up, but he should be good to go for Sunday. But can LSU run the ball, and can they move into a little bit of a different identity? Because Garrett Nussmeier can sling it, but he is not Jaden Daniels where he's going to run for 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns or anything like that. So the running game is going to have to be those backs getting it done. And then who's going to step up? Kyron Lacey. You got in CJ Daniels coming in as a transfer from Liberty, one of the best receivers in the country in the transfer portal this year, had 1,000 yards there last year. And looks to be, a big explosive guy. Chris Hilton, a little dinged up, may not play this weekend. Not sure yet, but they have a lot of other weapons too. But the guys who I'm really excited about, I want to see, we know about Mason Taylor at tight end, but the guy I want to see is Tradez Green. I want to see Kamorian Pimpton too. We saw a little bit of him already, but I want to see Tradez Green. This is a big dude, 6'6", monster. My son played basketball against him in high school. He's a big dude. And he's something. He's gonna be a force to be reckoned with. He may be one of those guys. I think he was second team freshman All-American, or maybe he was just freshman. I don't remember the preseason, All-American list or whatever. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Can LSU run the ball? Can they establish the run? And then, of course, can LSU's defense actually generate pressure, and can their DBs cover? And that's all. That's really what it's all going to come down to. I think this tends to be it leans towards being a high-scoring game with LSU, I hope, finding a way to get it done late with a score somewhere in the 30s, and USC somewhere in the mid 20s to low 30s. I think it's going to be that kind of game, a 1 or 2 possession game. So, what do you have any thoughts on that game, or have you been focusing on the dog? Huh?
You broke it down. More than I was thinking. I was thinking like if these two teams played last year, what would the over under on points be? If it would be like in the 90s. Yeah, I mean it's you have a Lincoln Riley trying to do it without Caleb Williams. Miller Moss is supposed to be the guy, and they're bringing back receivers. They're supposedly revamped their defense, and I guess we'll see if that's true coming this weekend. I think it's a matter of literally that you guys are in very similar situations, like you said. Like you both teams were focusing on revamping the defensive side of the ball, and hopefully we'll be all be able to see that come Sunday night. You guys get a solo Sunday night game on prime time. No other games to watch other than y'all. So you guys got to show up.
Right. And so one of the things that that's going to be big for USC is Zechariah Branch is a really dynamic playmaker type guy, but hasn't really put it all together just yet. But he could if he does, that could be trouble for LSU. You got Bear Alexander in the middle of that defensive line for USC. So being able to run the ball and being able to protect Nussmeier with that, and then of course it's going to come down to those quarterbacks. Who makes the fewest mistakes and who converts on third down so you can keep moving the chains. Because I think both of these teams would like to run the ball and like to control the tempo.
Right.
Lincoln Riley's going to probably be a little bit more gadgety just because it's Lincoln Riley. But I think LSU would be very happy if they ran the ball 40 times and picked up 250 yards on the ground and just kept the ball away from Lincoln Riley in that offense, regardless of who's at quarterback.
Yeah, honestly, might as well try to kill time because you never know. Like Lincoln Riley's going to look to get up early. He's just like, even though they might play better defense now, supposedly, like he's still going to try to shoot the lights out every time and just create some sort of insurmountable lead, regardless of how well their defense may play.
Yep, that's right.
He just brings that Big 12 style right to the I guess now the Big 18.
Right.
Oh no, excuse me. Yeah, the Big
to the Big 10. Yeah, the Big 18.
Yeah, that's the Big 10.
Yeah. My bad. I was already moving on to the Georgia-Clemson game, and so let's talk about that one. But yeah, so it's weird. LSU, when they scheduled those games, they had USC and UCLA on the schedule. They were in the Pac-12. Now they're both in the Big 10. So it's like, what the hell's going on? Like we don't even know what conference these teams are going to be in.
Nope, not anymore. You got West Coast teams in the ACC. It's madness.
Yeah, so I'll let you take the floor here.
Please.
How do you see this game with you guys and Clemson going on? It's kind of a similar situation where you have two very high-profile programs, but I think in this case it's weird because it's like you guys met at this little convergence point a few years ago, and then your programs you had that 10-3. You had 10-3 opening season win.
We'll talk about it.
Won, and then it just kind of went. Y'all have been going in opposite directions ever since. Clemson is falling off, and Georgia is rising to king of the hill status. So, how do you see it?
Yeah, that 2021 game was their first post Trevor Lawrence. It's like, I think a lot of it, what has happened with Clemson is all related to Dabo Swinney, like in his hatred, unwillingness to change with the transfer portal, play the game. And I understand where he's coming from. It's like a moral. This is not football. It's not college football. Like I understand that, but you're going to end up hurting your program if you're the only one not changing. Like, and as far as this coming weekend, I don't think any of once again, I'm looking at their roster, none of their guys are transfers. Like they're all senior, junior, sophomore. I think the youngest guy they have playing on at least listed as a starter is a sophomore.
Which is great as long as you keep recruiting studs all the time, and you can fill that.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and you can just keep filling that pipeline. But if you aren't supplementing the pipeline with like LSU with CJ Daniels, like if they just wait for their freshman and sophomore receivers to step into that, why not go get a mature guy who already put up 1,000 yards at another school?
Yeah.
If he's there, just plug him in. He's potentially going to be like the leading receiver for the team this year.
Right, which I think, when you compare the two, so talking about us versus Clemson, we did go get some transfer report. We had way more guys leave than come in, which I don't care. That's fine. Like, that to me says it's like you're not just like come one, come all. If you have talent, it's like, no, we're being strategic.
Well, and the guys who left because they weren't going to get playing time,
right?
Because they didn't like where they were on the roster. So it's not that big of a loss necessarily.
You bring in Trevor Etienne, who is not going to play this weekend. That's fine. I'm not worried about it. We have, if Roderick Robinson is going to be healthy, he'll play this weekend. And Branson Robinson, who is a beast. We're fine in the running back domain. Clemson is going to be with Kate Klubnik once again, but losing Will Shipley. They still have Maffa as a running back, but they also, on the other side of the ball, lose their number one tackler, pretty much best defensive player, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Go Birds. So it's hard to say. I don't want to see what kind of weapons that Klubnik is going to play with, but he's not a Deshaun Watson. He's not a Taj Boyd. He's not a Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if it was because Dabo just happened to have 3 generational quarterbacks in a row. It's what it sounds like.
I was going to say, like, nobody talks about that, but like, it makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference.
Like, you have 3 generational quarterbacks in a row, and you also have a defensive line that was on another realm for those.
Hey, don't forget about those receivers too.
No, exactly.
Let's look at those receivers, like Nuke and T. Higgins, and you go down the line. They had some. No, that's what I'm saying. Nuke, you had some monsters at receiver. You lost to Clemson in the Peach Bowl a few years ago, like before they won the national championship. I think it was like 16 or 17. And it was all those guys. They just marched down the field and punched it in at the end on us.
And when we played them in the last home and home in 13-14, we had Todd Gurley, Aaron Murray, and they had, I believe that was the start of Deshaun Watson. The end of Taj Boyd started Deshaun Watson, I believe. And they beat us the first time. Then we came around and beat them the second time. And then, of course, we had our lovely 10-3 battle with 0 offensive touchdowns scored. Shout out to starting JT Daniels over Stetson Bennett with a pick 6 and a field goal to win 10-3. I think this weekend, I am not as scared of Clemson as if this matchup were to happen in the Trevor Lawrence era. It's a whole different how I'm feeling. I think that, like, they've lost their talent. Like, they're going to have Moffitt running back. We'll have to see what kind of receivers they're working with. I think we have the weapons. We bring back our entire starting offense outside of, you can't not talk about us not having Brock Bowers, Alad McConkey. When you're talking about us bringing back receivers, Dominic Lovin, Arian Smith, Dylan Bell, all guys who contributed last year are going to continue to contribute. Obviously, we're not going to have Robert Thomas. We don't need him. If he's a bad person, we don't want him. That's fine. But we also bring in transfer receivers who are going to contribute when the time comes. You have Colby Young from Miami. You have Michael Jackson III from Southern Cal coming in, and they will fill in when we need to. But we have our core. We have the guards. We have Tate Ratledge coming back, who's a stud. I think he's going to be a top offensive line prospect. And you have Fairchild on the other side, another stud. And then, talked about Brock Bowers. I think Oscar Delp did enough for himself last year to be ready to shoulder the load as the tight end 1 coming in this year. And we got Eurosec transfer, like he's like a 3-star, 4-star transfer, grad transfer from Stanford. You got to bring a genius in here and there in the SEC. You got to have a smart guy here and there. You can't not. And then,
hey, look, y'all already have state troopers will attest. You already have the fastest team in the country.
Listen.
I had to, man. I had to.
Listen, I am not one of those Georgia fans. Listen, I'm not endorse driving like reckless driving. Like if they did something wrong, they need to be punished. I'm not going to be like, they're fine. They're like, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even get the chance to talk about, our Heisman candidate quarterback coming back, Carson Beck. He got time to develop.
He's top of the list. And if you look at the odds, he's top of the list.
He is top of the list. And then our defense, we lost a couple, but our core DBs, and I'm telling you, Smile Mondon, gonna be the guy. I'm telling you, like, unreal when he gets a chance.
Okay.
Yeah, linebacker. Dude, I was telling you, that's a guy to look out for this year.
Yeah.
Dog. And we got Nazir Stackhouse still at over the center. Like I'm telling you, we're going to be fine. Like we return the guys we need. Julian Humphrey, he's going, he's not going, he's going, he's not going. Apparently, he's staying. So we'll have him at quarterback. I think we go to our neutral site game that we tend to have down there in Atlanta, and I think we can take care of business with Clemson. I really do. This is not a game that I'm like. I don't want to sound too cocky. I'm not a cocky person. But
no,
Clemson
but
is not shown enough for me.
The writing's on the wall. Like Clemson is not. They're not.
No, they're trending in the wrong direction since Trevor Lawrence. Like they've trended further and further. Like they are probably going to contend for the ACC because the ACC is so poor, but on a national schedule, I don't think they're going to do too much. That's my true opinion. I think we take care of business as long as Mike Bobo wants to call real offense. We'll be all right. That's what's going to be our. If anything, Chad. Is going to kick us in the ass this year. It's going to be offensive play calling.
Okay, but how much of what happened last year, though, do you think was because you remember about halfway through the season, you started to comment to me that like you started to see that they were letting Carson Beck do a little bit more, and he wasn't just
which I do agree.
I think some of that was probably like faith in him, and like he had to build that trust. He had to get that confidence probably in himself as well.
Which he did. I think he built it well over the course of the year.
It's like the opposite of what we have. Like Garrett Nussmeier when he was going out into these games and he was only playing a few snaps. And I remember there was one against Southern, I think we were playing, where we were shutting him out, blowing him out, and he just like is going down on like 3rd and 8 and just like flings the ball underhanded towards the sidelines. Six. And it's just like, man, you can't do that. Like this is we needed him to like kind of dial it back. Like we needed Jaden Daniels a couple of years ago. They had to have a little come to Jesus meeting with him. Like because he was in that Carson Beck type mold of let me just make sure I don't make a mistake. He had I think Jaden Daniels had like 5 interceptions total his junior year. And then but he only threw like 20 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's like you need to take some risks. You need to trust these big receivers to go get the ball.
And it wasn't, and I feel like, and I think I just like have a bad taste in my mouth for how we called the game against Bama. But it's like it wasn't even a matter of fact of Carson Beck not performing or else. We just didn't give him a lot of opportunities in that game. So that's going to be like we have to let Beck. We stick to what worked and what got us to SEC championship, which is let Beck do his thing. He was checked down, Charlie, but because people were coming at him at 100 miles an hour. Like, you got to get the ball out.
Right.
But when I got to go see them play Kentucky, it's like, oh, guys are breaking open 3 or 4 times. Like, we have receivers that will be open. And he just got to go find them. And he will. And he's shown that he can. I trust Carson Beck. Like, I have more trust in Carson Beck at the start of this season than when we gave Stetson Bennett the reins. Which is, I mean, this totally different situation. But
yeah, because this year Carson Beck's not fighting for his job.
Yeah, exactly. Carson Beck has his job locked up.
But it's very similar if you think about, and I think maybe the better parallel. I'm not saying that they have the same skill set or anything like that, but maybe the better parallel is that Jaden Daniels comparison, where halfway through his junior year, they told him like, look, you got to throw the ball up and let Brian Thomas go get it. You got to throw that ball when Malik Neighbors has half a step on that guy because he's going to come down with that ball.
Put the ball downfield.
And so he started doing that, and you saw the results.
Yeah, exactly.
He had a great second half 2 years ago, and last year had one of the best seasons ever for a quarterback in the history of the game. So, like, I could see Carson Beck. Like if they open it up and let him go do his thing, the only thing that I could see that would be that I would maybe pump the brakes a little bit on him from a Heisman standpoint is, or maybe not Heisman, but on an offensive production standpoint, from that standpoint, is your defense is so good historically, and I don't see that dropping off.
In the last couple of years,
he's not going to need to do what Jaden Daniels did last year, where he's having to stay in the game until the fourth quarter to hang the 59th point on the board so we can win 59-52. You're going to be probably putting him on ice in the third quarter in some games, and so he could still win the Heisman. He just might not have those lofty numbers,
which is fair.
That'd be fine. Well, so let's Heisman. Let's go into that. Let's go into, because it brings us into our next topic, which is predictions for the season for our respective teams. what do you see for Georgia in terms of? I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but let's like really get into how we see, you guys playing against this schedule.
What do I see? And I think it's been the trend. I think because Beck is ready, it's not going to be so much of the trend, but it was the trend like almost the last 2 to 3 years where the defense, I think because we're returning the same offense pretty much, like it was like the defense is ready and they're just going to hold us in the game until the offense can kind of catch up. Like started, and that was kind of how the season starts. Like the defense is like letting your offense get warmed up in a group for the season until they're full speed go. I think we're going to come out a lot better earlier on offense because of the reasons we just talked about. Beck's ready, the receivers are ready.
Right.
We have a great O-line. We're going to be fine.
And the coaching staff's more confident in him to just let him go off.
Let him give him the keys a little bit more. Like he's earned it. He has earned it. I think that we take care of this schedule, and we talked about it. We have 2 to maybe 3 opportunities to stub our toe, and with a 12-team playoff, that is now acceptable. I would love an undefeated season, but given the schedule and the conference no longer having a East West,
I would say you possibly have 4. This is just me looking at your schedule.
Let me give you my 3, and let me
tell me your 3. Yeah,
it's Bama. Obviously, it's at Bama, it's at Texas, and at Ole Miss. Where's your 4?
I think Tennessee is a possible one. And look, this is gonna sound crazy, but let's wait and see on Georgia Tech because that's one of those ones that you would normally not even consider it, but we don't know how good Florida State actually is. And was that just Georgia Tech just put the screws on them?
Yeah,
and lock them down, or is Florida State just really bad and Georgia Tech's not any good and they just beat them? I don't know. I got to wait and see on that one.
I'd rather me and my brother said it. It's honestly nice when Georgia Tech doesn't suck because then the last game of the year, it's supposed to be rivalry weekend. It's supposed to mean something,
and it's hammer and nail weekend.
Yeah,
for you guys.
it's hammer and nail. And there has been times where freaking Georgia Tech beats us and they're taking bites out of the oh my god, why am I blanking? The bushes. Why am I blanking? Oh my god,
the hedges.
Yes, Jesus Christ, that's the worst. Georgia. Good Lord.
I was like, they're taking bites out of a peach.
No,
I'm trying to figure out because it's Georgia. I was like, what are they
back here? These hedges, you see these over here? Jesus Christ, ignore me. That's the worst. Okay, yeah. So literally, taking pieces out of the hedges and chewing on them, stuff like that. We've had that with Georgia Tech, or we've gone into Bobby Dodd. That's the Athens. Practice, Georgia's practice field is Bobby Dodd Stadium. So I think we take care of Tennessee because they're coming to us.
Yeah,
but those road.
I'm just saying it's one of those we don't know how good Nico is. Is he the second coming of Hendon Hooker? I don't know.
Josh Heupel's shown what they can do with a.
I'm not going to try to say Nico's last name.
No, I have not heard it said yet. I've not.
If I don't know. I'm not gonna try. I tried anyway. I said I wouldn't.
All of the shows I've listened to never say his last name, and I've never heard it.
If you can just call him Nico and everybody knows who you're talking about, why? why say his last name?
No, but he might be the guy, and Josh Heupel with a good quarterback has shown what they can do. So who knows? They're definitely a wild card, but I think it's Alabama and Texas.
Yeah, no, it's Alabama and Texas, and then Ole Miss coming to Athens should be a winnable game, but it just depends. There's so much stuff that goes on, injuries and all the different things that happen. What did Ole Miss do the week before? Because depending on what it is, Lane Kiffin might come in and lay an egg, or he might come in and just be like, you know what, to hell with it. We are going to try and score 70 points today. Yeah. And then you got to keep up with them. I've seen them do crazy stuff before. So who knows?
How do you feel about your schedule?
Yeah. So I think for you guys, before we finish that, your guys' schedule shapes up to where, I see you guys probably not going undefeated, but one loss is probably that midpoint where I think if you
two
ran,
at the
well, I'm
most,
just
in
saying,
my
if you ran a
opinion.
bunch of simulations,
Yeah,
I think the mode would be 1.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
fair. I don't
I
think
think one and
anybody's
a
giving this a
half
look
is
at the
probably the
season.
mean. Somewhere
Yeah,
in that range. And maybe 2 is the median, because you probably have some scenarios where you go undefeated or finish with 1 loss. You have some where maybe you get 3 losses, but then somewhere in between. I think
yeah,
that 1 or 2, yeah, but I think you're probably the most likely scenario is 1.
yeah. Which is
Where
I'm totally
which
fine
one, I don't know, and it doesn't matter because you're going to go to the playoffs anyway.
with.
So barring disaster, you guys are going to the playoffs. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
You heard it here first. Us might be a little more difficult. Again, we've talked about it. Southern Cal this weekend in Las Vegas on Sunday night, prime time. It's the only game in town that night. It's going to be lit. It's going to be crazy. We don't even have NFL this weekend, so it is like literally it. Unless you want to watch baseball.
Yeah.
Then you got Nichols. Go on the road to South Carolina. UCLA comes to Baton Rouge to finish that home and home that we started with them back in 2021. Then we got South Alabama, who let's not forget, they beat Oklahoma State last year, so don't sleep on that one. Then Ole Miss comes into Baton Rouge after that heartbreaker last year in Oxford for LSU. Arkansas and Texas A&M on the road back to back, leading into the Alabama bye week. And then, of course, you got the Crimson Tide coming to Baton Rouge with Florida in the Swamp the week after. And then you round it out with Vandy and Oklahoma, both home games. If I'm doing the same thing that you were doing, I look at it's a little bit different for LSU. LSU is not Georgia. We're trying to get there, but we're not at that level right now where season in, season out, you can look at the schedule and you can say we should only lose 1 or 2 games. SC, both SCs, Southern Cal and South Carolina, I could see LSU dropping those games. I feel a little more confident about UCLA. Of course, Nichols and South Alabama, you should win those games. Arkansas, you should win. Vandy is just do you know Vandy in the last 39 SEC games, they are 2-37.
In the last how many?
39. Their last 39 SEC games, they have won 2.
Was one of them against us, or we're not thinking that far? No, that wasn't too long. That wasn't long ago.
That wasn't long
James
ago.
Franklin beat us. That was too long ago.
Yeah, that was a while. Before he went to Penn State. Yeah, that was a long time ago. And you got Oklahoma and Alabama at home. You go on the road to A&M. So, like, I look at SC, South Carolina, also Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama, Florida, and Oklahoma as all possible losses, and possibly even Arkansas. It just depends on, is the defense as much better as we hope it is? And does Garrett Nussmeier have enough to make up for it if it's not? Now, if Nussmeier is great and the defense is way better, then Arkansas doesn't have a prayer, because Sam Pittman's going to be fired. Well, and that's the other thing.
Oh, God.
Is Sam Pittman fired by that point? And are they playing with like a fire under him with a new coach? Because I think you're better off. It always happens this way. I feel the same way about baseball. Like, you're better off playing some of these really bad teams early in the year. The last thing you want to do is play somebody like the Pirates or somebody like that in the pennant race late in the season, where now they call up like 3 dudes, like the Nationals just called up Dylan Cruz, or like one year the Marlins called up Josh Beckett, and he's 18 years old, but he's like flamethrowing. So, like, I don't know if you want to play Arkansas late in the year after they fire Sam Pittman. They might be better. They might be playing with like some fire and some energy and purpose. They still don't have a lot of talent, but it is Arkansas. They got big offensive linemen, big defensive linemen. They do stuff sometimes that you just, it's hard to explain. So if I look at it and I'm being realistic and honest, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss, and this weekend's game against South Carolina and that game against A&M, that's 5 games where like I think you could lose 3 of them, and I wouldn't even I'm not saying I wouldn't be disappointed. I'm just saying I'd be like, yeah, I mean, okay, like, what am I going to do? Be mad? Like, I'm not going to be happy, but I'm not exactly going to be surprised or super angry. And I think if you, depending on what those games are and how you look otherwise, you could still make the playoff with that. I think LSU has to only have 2 losses to secure a spot in the playoff. They might be able to get in with 3 losses. It depends on how everybody else in the conference does, because I think the conference is only getting 3, maybe 4 teams in. Because it's going to be, I don't know. We got to wait and see how this whole thing plays out, because you got Notre Dame is just about guaranteed to get in. You've got whether it's Liberty or Boise State or somebody like that, one of those teams is guaranteed to be in, one of those group of 5. And then you've got the 4 conference champions of the Power 4. Okay. I don't see LSU being one of those. So that's 6 schools right there. Now you got 6 spots left.
Yeah.
So Michigan, Ohio State, one of those 2.
Like
Oregon. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you see how it starts playing out. USC possibly. Then you go over, you got, Miami, Florida State,
Clemson, if they want to play.
Clemson, if they, depending on how well they play. You may have some other schools, Virginia Tech, possibly, so there could be a school or 2 from the ACC, an extra school from the ACC. And then over in the Big 12, you never know. Like, you might get 2 from there. And so it just makes it to where, like, you're not guaranteed, if you're the 4th or 5th best SEC team, to have a sniff at the playoff. I would hope that they could, but there's no guarantees. So my gut tells me it's a 9-3 team. If I'm, kind of like what we were talking about with Georgia, it's like 9-3 team. I am hopeful that this can be a 10-2 team and make the playoff. And I'm terrified that they could lose 4 or 5 games if the defense hasn't been fixed.
Yeah,
if the defense is fixed and Blake Baker's bringing the house and Harold Perkins is going nuts and he's like an All-American.
Dude, he needs to. You and I have both said it.
He's playing with his hair on fire.
Right.
Then it's a whole different ballgame.
If they cannot figure out a way to do something with a elite talent like Perkins, I don't know what you're going to do. Yeah. Talking about your schedule, though, you told me before that for some reason you and Arkansas get into a rock fight whenever you guys go to Fayetteville. But I think I don't want this for you.
It happens in Baton Rouge too. We almost lost to them last year. We won by a field goal. Now our defense sucked. I didn't realize that's what the problem was. I just thought this is just Arkansas, and KJ Jefferson had a good game, but it was we were bad on defense. So I've seen some crazy, stupid Arkansas games.
Yeah,
Nick Saban losing to Matt Jones. Like that kind of stuff.
I think you guys have I don't know if you mentioned it, you might have. Potential pitfall on a turnaround if you want to break the schedule.
Yep.
Your turnaround, because you get a bye week before Bama, yes?
Right. Yep.
And you guys are preparing to have Bama come into your house for 2 weeks. And you've told me that is like NFL, beyond NFL preparation.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to turn around after that and go into the swamp.
Go to the swamp.
That's not an easy flip.
Oh, no.
To have a week to go, I would be concerned about it. I don't want that.
No, this schedule is full of landmines. If you look at potential losses, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 potential losses.
Yeah, which is terrifying.
Now, potential losses is different from because we picked out 5 potential losses for you guys. That doesn't mean you're going to lose 5 games. It's just of the 1 or 2 losses you're going to have, they're going to come from those 5 games. They're not coming from outside those 5 games.
Yeah.
Of the 3, 4, or 5 losses LSU ends up with, or 2, they're going to come out of those 8 games that I just talked about.
Right.
But the fact that there's 8 is like, damn, man, come on.
Literal minefield.
but you just don't know because, and the other thing about Florida too is they might have fired Billy Napier by that point.
Or Graham Mertz is setting the world on fire, and we don't know what's happening.
And is that better or worse for Florida if they have fired Billy Napier? Is it better maybe that Florida might be 8-2 at that point or something?
Yeah.
Would that be better for LSU? Because then you go into the swamp and it's
they get somebody every year though, regardless of how they're playing. They get a team on a high. And then all of a sudden you got to go play in the Swamp, and it's Tom Petty, and it's a night game, and it's like, oh man, we lay an egg against Florida.
Yep.
I don't want that for you.
So that's my take on where I think that thing ends
fair.
up.
I would love a Georgia LSU playoff game. Who knows?
Me too. Me too. I'm just excited about the playoff because I think there's some really cool, intriguing matchups that we never get to see. That we're going to get to see like 8 of them
in a meaningful game, not just like in a holiday bowl game.
Not a stupid bowl game that like half the team doesn't play, but like actual meaningful football. So with that, let's move on because we've talked about all of these teams as we've gone through our schedules. Let's talk about the SEC and how we want to rank these teams. We've talked a little bit last week about Oklahoma and Texas coming into the SEC and what that means for them and what that means for the conference. Let's start it off. Let's just break this down into tiers. I have Georgia and Texas kind of in a tier all their own. You could make an argument that Alabama belongs in that tier. I just think Alabama lost so much talent, and we haven't seen what they look like with Kalen DeBoer. And I think they backed their ass and lucked their ass into a playoff berth last year.
Yep.
If Alabama doesn't beat Auburn on a 4th and 30, whatever, in the Iron Bowl, we're not talking about them as one of the top tier teams in the SEC coming into this year. Everybody's looking at it like the bloom is off the rose, right? So why are we talking about it differently? Because they got lucky that Auburn only rushed 2 guys and they just had forever to throw the ball and found an open guy in the back of the end zone. That's here we are. It's Georgia and Texas until proven otherwise. Do you see it that way, or do you think anybody else belongs up there?
I think like when we talk about this, like we're gonna have like some teams that, because this is before the season starts, like there's teams that have that potential to be tweeners in all of these little tiers that we have. But I think it's us and Tech. I think it's like, if you were to say right now who is the SEC championship, it's us and Texas. And I wouldn't think really twice about it because of what Alabama's gonna have pitfalls. I think it's us and Texas that like are the most complete teams and the most teams that have the least amount of unknowns before the season starts. And I think that's why you and I can confidently say that.
Yeah, and your schedule's set up better too.
Yeah, we got to play each other at least once this year. We might be twice.
Right.
So, which I think is going to be great. I would love to start a rivalry with Texas. Are you kidding me? That's so fun.
Yeah.
Like, like to go out to Austin and have to come into Athens and like have that kind of like back and forth. Like, I'm all for that. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think UGA Texas alone are the top tier of the SEC before a down of football is played.
Yeah. So then the next tier, with Alabama leading this tier, I think it's Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, and you could maybe make some arguments for some of the other two. But when we start getting into these other schools, and then you start to some of their flaws, some of their unanswered questions. I don't think Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Missouri belong in that tier with LSU, Alabama, and Ole Miss.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
It's just you've got teams that are perennial contenders, and Ole Miss. I'm even like giving a little bit of grace by putting them in that tier because
they have a lot of unknowns too.
They have a lot of unknowns.
Jackson Dart can be good. That's all we know.
Well, and can he stay healthy too? Because he took a beating last year, and he was like, there were some times where he was like dragging his feet, trying to get back to the huddle. And he's got no Quinshon Judkins. Now they've got other backs. Right. Don't get me wrong. Like they were electric in that backfield. Judkins are not, but he's a big piece to lose when he goes over to Ohio State. So now, but it's still, I would put them, Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss in that third tier.
Yeah.
Or that second tier. Second tier.
I would say I agree. And I would say the only reason that we are not having Tennessee and Oklahoma in that second tier, which they easily could be, and they could prove to even be beyond that, because you have 2 new quarterbacks,
Jackson Arnold and Nico, whose name I will not say
until somebody says it for us. Right. I think that if you're talking about Dylan Gabriel staying at Oklahoma, they're an easily second tier, even honestly, possibly even first tier. You talk about what the Venables defense is going to do for them. We don't know yet. Are they going to? They beat Texas last year, I think, right?
Yeah,
they beat Texas last year, so who knows? But
it was a crazy game, but yeah,
it was.
They snuck it.
I think it's fair with what we know to put Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss as our second, like kind of power rank, second tier grouping, because we don't know. Like it's pretty much like our power rankings are like what do we know about these teams so far, and like what have they shown us, and what are they bringing to the table? And I think that's fair.
All right, I'm going to give it a go because I'm actually looking at it now, and it's easier if I'm actually reading the name. It's Nico Iamaleava.
There we go.
There, that's it. I'll try to keep getting that right, but it's just hard. I'm gonna have to repeat it to myself several times. But if I'm reading it, I got it. It's just when I wasn't reading it earlier, it was a little tougher. But no, yeah,
totally fair.
The question mark they have at quarterback with Jackson Arnold and Nico Iamaleava, and then with Texas A&M and all of the question marks that come with a new coach and some exodus in the transfer portal, some entries through the transfer portal too. And then Missouri, a lot of guys returning, but a lot of guys on the defense not returning. Blake Baker leaving and going to LSU. Let's not forget that. Eli Drinkwitz, really good coach, got a good quarterback, got a good number one receiver. We'll see, but that's there to me. They belong in that next tier.
I agree.
With those other four teams that we mentioned, and then you get to your fourth tier, which is the teams that I don't know. It could go. They're like a marble on a glass tabletop. Yeah. They're not really contenders for the SEC, but they could be in the top 5. But they could also be as bad as Vanderbilt. And I'm talking Florida because of their schedule. Talent-wise, I think they've got enough to not be as bad as Vandy, but their schedule is brutal. Kentucky, I just don't know. Like it's who do they have a quarterback in them now? Because they've gone through
Brock.
Vandegrift. It's Vandegrift. That's right.
It's our
guy.
Right.
That's right.
To be fair, was the number 1 quarterback in his class when he came to UGA.
Well, but so like, all right. So it was what's his face? Will Levis a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Then it was O'Leary from was he at NC State before?
Maybe.
I think so. I think he was at NC State a couple of years ago. Anyway, he transfers in. Now they get Brock Vandegrift from you guys. So like, I don't know, like, but that's why they're where they are. And then South Carolina, some dynamic playmakers. They're going to play defense. I just don't know. Like I know they're not as bad as Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Vandy, but they're one of those like that standard SEC spoiler role.
They are. That South Carolina's like bread and butter.
They're like an Indiana or a Purdue or an Illinois in the Big Ten. Where it's like, well, we're not really good, but we can upset you.
Yeah, it's like don't not play it. We get you.
That's about it. Like we're not winning anything, but we will make it. We'll make you miserable. We spread misery. That's what we do. That's what those schools are. They're like the Schadenfreude schools. Anyway, so you got Auburn also in that group because I just don't know about their quarterback situation. Are they going to be able to do what they do? Yeah, what they need to do.
And Hugh
Robbie
Freeze
Ashford and I don't remember who else is. Huh?
Isn't Hugh Freeze their coach this year?
Yeah.
How does that guy still have a job?
I don't know, man. Like it's Bobby Petrino's coaching at Arkansas. He's going to take that job over. Like they don't care, bro. Like
how do they do this? Like they literally make mockeries of different programs. And the most scandalous Hugh Freeze. Right. I've heard stories about what Hugh Freeze used to do, and he just sounds like just the worst person on the planet.
Yes.
The earth.
And then he's like he talks like he's a preacher.
Yeah, and right.
How are you you're like
he's
Jimmy Swaggart or something, sleeping with prostitutes and then talking about God. Like, what are you doing? What? There's one thing. Jesus, ministered to prostitutes and tried to tell them to stop being prostitutes and forgave their sins. These dudes are like, no, man, I'm going to join you. And then I'm going to come back and talk about, I don't know, man. I'm not here to judge, but it's just weird.
Arkansas scandal is one of the all-time, dude. You'll never not see Bobby Petrino in the neck brace. Never not.
I mean, it reminds me of Ted Kennedy with what's her name, Mary Jo Kopechne, where he like they like crashed a car into a lake or whatever, and he just like left.
Yeah,
she died, and it's just like, oh, okay. But I mean, it's the girl with Bobby Petrino didn't die, but like it kind of drew some attention to what was going on.
And then he goes and coaches the Atlanta Falcons in the poorest way possible.
Right. All right. So let's
back on track. Sorry.
Next, bottom tier, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Vandy. We don't need to talk about it. It's just it is what it is.
State
we know
has to recover. Like, it's not their fault. Like,
we know who they are. Yeah.
Like, I always feel bad with Mississippi State. It's really not their fault. Like,
right.
But
so wrapping things up, we've got a killer slate of games this week, Tyler. I think I looked the average spread for tonight, Friday, Saturday, like it's like 30 points. These games are terrible, with the exception of a handful. We picked out a handful of games that are actually worth watching, and it starts off with a game tonight of with North Carolina and Minnesota. I think the spread's like 1.5, something like that. I don't really care about this game. I don't know how to evaluate North Carolina with no Drake May.
Me neither.
So I'm not really like interested in like trying to guess about where this game's going to go, but it could be an entertaining game to watch. Whereas, unless you want to watch Kansas play against, what is it, Linseed Oil? What's the name of this school? Lindenwood.
Lindenwood.
What is Lindenwood? Where I've never never heard of a school before.
Okay.
And they're playing a Division I college football game.
They just became a Division I program. The only reason I know that is because of being a lacrosse guy. I think they're from Kentucky or somewhere in the South, I think. And they went from D2 to D1 and then canned half the programs after being D1 and including lacrosse. I think they're somewhere in the South.
Really? Okay. Lindenwood University, St. Louis, Missouri.
There you go. They're somewhere in the South.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it.
Go.
I don't care.
Anyway, regardless of the fact,
it's not going to be a good game. There's no line on that game because why would there be? Who the hell could tell how bad Kansas is going to beat them?
Yeah.
I don't know. And is Daniel a good enough quarterback to is it Jalen Daniels? Is that his name?
Jalen Daniels.
Okay,
because he should be good.
Is he as good as Jaden Daniels? I don't think so.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. He should be good. Like,
he should be good.
If they're good, he's going to be the reason why.
I remember betting on Kansas a lot when he was there a couple of years ago before he got hurt, and then he got hurt, and then it was like, I'm not betting on Kansas anymore.
And now you suck. Sorry.
Now
you're back to
I don't know if he's still going to be any good.
I
don't know how he is after the injury because it was pretty bad. Another game that we got this weekend: West Virginia, Penn State.
Yep.
I think Penn State should handle this one pretty easily, but it's one of the more entertaining games that we will actually get to look at. So
absolutely. You got Penn State, they're going down to Morgantown this time around. They beat them last year at Happy Valley. You got, in my opinion, one of the better running back duos that you'll see in college football this year with Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. And listen, Penn State has just, throughout, I would say the last,
is it still Drew Aller at quarterback?
It still is. And they should be better. They're bringing in a new offense. Actually, Kansas' offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be the new OC. I don't think that Franklin is going to call plays this year, which may benefit them. Considering last year against Michigan, they literally third and 10 throws a behind the line of scrimmage pass that went nowhere. They also bring in Julian Fleming from Ohio State, who was the top 5 recruit in his class. He's from Pennsylvania, coming back home. Same with Singleton. Penn State, has had just, a nice little run of homegrown running backs from Saquon Barkley to Miles Sanders to now Singleton. I think that they go down to West Virginia and take care of business. I really do. It's going to be cool for Morgantown.
Yeah. For those of you South End Zone fans who don't know, Tyler has dual citizenship. He's got all that Georgia shit behind him, but he's also he lives in that Pennsylvania area right by Happy Valley. So he's very connected to Penn State football and that whole vibe. And weren't you and your brother on game day last year standing out in the, or was that for a Georgia game or was
we were on SEC Nation, dude?
Oh,
like
SEC
the entirety
so it was
of
a Georgia game. Okay.
yeah.
I thought it was game
We
day.
run
It was SEC Nation.
No, we were on Walmart game day. Got to see. I got to look look
Tim
at
Tebow
Tim Tebow
anchoring.
and Roman Harper fitting into their suits, and Paul Feinbaum wearing his Skechers and jeans with his blazer.
Of course he is, because it's Paul Feinbaum. I mean, look, if I was as old as him and doing something like that, I would do the same thing. I might be
right. He looks very
might be in
comfortable. He's
shorts,
having a great time. And he looks like a little child next to Roman Harper and Tim Tebow. But I digress. Yeah. This game, I think that Penn State takes care of business. And Penn State is one of those teams that we talked about before, that a 12-team playoff benefits the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a 12-team playoff potentially saves James Franklin at Penn State.
Oh, absolutely. And the best part about it is, for them, if they get like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th seed, they get a home game in Happy Valley.
Dude, that's going to be unbelievable.
That's insane. And that's not that hard. Like, them finishing in the top 8, they're probably not going to finish top 4, but if they can take the, that third Big Ten spot, or maybe second, because I don't know where Michigan falls this year. Is Michigan going to be able to be top 2, or is it going to be Ohio State and Penn State? I mean, you got Oregon, who probably
I think it's Ohio State,
win the whole
Oregon
thing. So Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan probably falls off, and then it's Penn State, Michigan.
Penn State's 3 behind
behind
Ohio State and Oregon, in my opinion. Penn State's 3.
So, and that's all assuming that Dylan Gabriel does what everybody expects him to do at Oregon,
which is played very well.
Dan Lanning is a really good coach too, so I don't want to take anything away from them. So that's I expect good things, but like, look, man, we saw it firsthand in the SEC. Bo Nix, while he wasn't to me worthy of winning the Heisman Trophy, he was an electric, different kind of dude. Like, he had some guts that I'm not saying Dylan Gabriel doesn't have that.
Georgia.
I'm just saying you don't guaranteed replace that, right?
True, very true.
So
I think that they will have the receivers to complement whatever quarterback plays for them, in my opinion. They always will.
Yeah, right, for sure. And it is going to be interesting to see how Oregon fares moving to the Big Ten now too, because it's different. It's just different. It's not the Pac-12 anymore. So moving right along, now it starts to get interesting.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you about this game.
Okay.
Does the loser of this game, so like sometimes they have these games, these weird games in London in the NFL where they send these 2 crappy teams, like they'll send like the Texans and like the Jaguars or something like that when they're bad out there, and like one of those coaches doesn't make the flight back because it's in the middle of the season and they're 1-7 and they're just like, you know what, take your time, hang out in London because you're not coming back with the team. Just enjoy yourself. Here's your severance package. Have an extended vacation. I'm not saying that's going to happen in this game where the loser of this game fires their coach after the game is over. But does the loser of this game still have a job in the offseason?
Dude,
are they still coaching their team next year? I should say.
You want to talk about the hot seat bowl? Like, this is it. And in fact, that it's an in-state game.
That's what I'm
talk
saying.
About Cristobal and Napier. Cristobal is 12-13 as the coach of Miami. And Napier's not much.
Shout out to running the ball on whatever that was.
Yeah.
That's like all you gotta do is kneel it and you're done.
Yeah, dude. And then you have another win. And then you're 13-13. Yeah. And
13-12, right?
13-12. Yeah, math. Good job, Tyler.
Yeah, it's all right. They still played that game and lost it. So you get to flip the results. You don't just add a win.
No. I'm trying so hard. I have my second cup of coffee. I don't know what today is.
That's what I'm here for.
Fair enough. But I don't know how this game's going to look. Miami's ranked for some reason in the preseason. I think maybe a little bit is because they're bringing Cam Ward, who was like a top transfer quarterback down from Washington State. Other than that, I'm not really sure why. They are getting a lot of buzz to be contending for the ACC this year, which I mean, I guess they are Miami. Miami fans, and I feel so bad for them because they came from the glory of the U and of the 80s and then the 2000s, and just once they left the Big East, they haven't gone back to that.
Yeah, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Michael Irvin, nope, not anymore. Sean Taylor, all those guys. So it's like come on. No more.
Yeah. So I don't know what this turns into. Like, it could be game of the year. It could be a crapshoot. It could be anywhere in between. You got 2 good quarterbacks. That's all I know.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know is you got 2 that should be good quarterbacks going into. Where is this game at? Do we know? I don't know.
I don't know. Let's pull it up. Hang on. I can tell you here in just a second. We have Florida in Gainesville.
Okay. In the Swamp. So it's Florida in the Swamp.
Yep.
I mean, I think that Miami, I'd take Florida in the Swamp any day of the week.
Yeah.
Given that I don't know much.
Dude, that atmosphere is going to be crazy.
For an in-state game, like, you got so much orange, and you got the Miami colors.
This is one of those. It's one of those ones. Remember, I was talking about like Arkansas teams like that, where you're better off playing them early in the year when they suck, and they haven't fired the coach yet, than if you wait until after they fire the coach, and then now they have like a whole different vibe. This is the opposite of that. Yeah, this is like you actually get the hype of, like, I think both of these programs feel like, okay, Florida looks at their schedule and they're like, damn, this is going to be tough. But if we somehow go 9-3 against that schedule, there ain't no way they're keeping us out of the playoff.
Right.
Like, look at that schedule that they would have to go 9-3 against. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like, to go 9-3, Miami, A&M, Central Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. Like, you can only lose 3 of those games.
Yeah.
Okay? So, even if you lose 3 of those games, that means you still won, 6 of them? 5 of them? Because there's like 9 really good, tough teams there.
Yeah, dude.
So, I think there could be some belief in the Billy Napier camp. And it's only his 2nd year, so like I think there's a possibility. Or is it his 3rd year? It's his 3rd year. Yeah. Because he was on the he was in the running for the LSU job when Brian Kelly got it. So if it's Kelly's 3rd year, it's his 3rd year.
You lucked out, big guy. You lucked out big time.
Right. So for sure. There were a lot of other. Lincoln Riley was one of the names, but I knew he was never coming because, like, I was like, "There's no way he's coming to LSU." He's going to stay somewhere. Like, USC's perfect for him because they're like, "We don't care if you can't stop anybody. Just score points and make things look highlighty." And we're Hollywood. Like, we love that shit. Defense, schmefense. So
yeah, exactly.
Works out. No, we can't do that here. We've got to play defense in the SEC. But Miami, on the other hand, like, all the hype about Miami's going to win the ACC. So you have both of these schools coalescing. And what is hilarious about that is that I think there's so many people thinking, man, Billy Napier's in trouble because Florida's going to lose 6 games this year and Billy Napier's going to get fired. Yep. And I think that's a buzzsaw for Miami to walk into where
you got both
everybody's hyping them up. They are, but they also are kind of in, like, I don't think anybody's looking at Miami and saying Miami's got a really tough schedule and they're possibly going to go 6-6. I think the hot seat that Cristobal is in is like, look, it's Florida State, Clemson, maybe like a couple of other schools.
Yeah.
And you better not finish 6th in the ACC, 5th in the ACC.
That's fair.
You better finish top 2. You better go to the ACC championship game, or I don't know. Do they have a championship game anymore? I don't know. I'll have to look that up before next time. I don't care about the ACC. This is an SEC show.
Yep.
We know how we do it, and we have an SEC championship still. It's different from how it has been. There's no East and West anymore, but the top 2 teams will play for the title game. So that one's going to be really interesting because it's 2 coaches that one or the other could be fired, or possibly both at the end of the season.
Yeah, seriously.
And they're 2 of the most mercurial teams to try to predict where they're going to go, because I could see both of them losing 6-7 games. I could see both of them only losing 4. And in Miami's case, I could see Miami losing like 1 or 2 if they really get it together. So this last game, this is going to be a fun one too. Notre Dame, Texas A&M. Where are they playing this one?
Not in either of those schools, I don't believe.
No, they're not. Oh, shoot. I got to pull the banner down. Dang it. Hang on. Let me get this banner out of here. Oh, shoot. Wrong one. There we go. No.
No, it's in College Station.
It's in the station. Okay.
Oh boy,
I should have known that.
Changes things.
I should have known that. That changed. Yeah. So here's the thing, though. Everybody I hear talk about this game says they've got A&M winning it, and I get that. I see it. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like,
this early with a
Marcus
new coach,
Freeman's a really good coach.
Yes.
He brought in Mike Denbrock. That's why LSU had to go get a, well, they didn't get a new offensive coordinator. They just promoted Joe Sloan from quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame's got like some weapons. They've got a good quarterback. They got Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard.
Yeah. So Mike Elko. So Mike Elko is going to have his. He's going to be playing against the quarterback that he used to coach.
He is.
So because he's got Connor Wegman over there, that's another one where I'm like, I get it that you want to like. If I'm pumping the brakes on A&M, like just like
big time.
A guarantee, or I don't think anybody's saying
they got co-offensive coordinators too, which is interesting. Yeah. They got two guys calling the offense. One of which I was looking at this before the show. One of which is Colin Klein. Did you know that? Like that Colin Klein, like the K-State quarterback Colin Klein is one of their offensive coordinators.
Okay.
Weird little tidbit. This is the battle of the insufferable fan bases, if anything. That's the one thing that I can say with confidence about this game. This is the battle of like the most like we are the best. Everybody else sucks. Not Colt. Texas A&M is a cult. Notre Dame is just a Catholic school. But they're actually like academics and whatever. But it is just like the most insufferable fan bases. We're the best. Look at us every year and have not done anything. I think. I don't know how this
Notre Dame's thing is like. I think they're annoying because of. I don't get annoyed as much at Notre Dame fans. Like maybe that's just me, but like Notre Dame fans don't seem to bother me that much. What it is it's the hype about Notre Dame. It's the media and the whole college football universe seems to revolve around Notre Dame, whether they're good or not. Like they just get like this preferential treatment. They even have their little thing where like now the one thing that they did is they can't get a bye because the 4 conference champions get the 4 byes.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame can't be any better than the 5th seed in the playoff.
Yep.
That's about the closest they've ever come to saying Notre Dame, you're in timeout.
Yeah.
Everything else is like, we don't care what you do. You get all the privileges of not doing what everybody else does, and you get none of the negatives of not doing what everybody else does.
For the first time, independence is actually going to hurt them. For the first time, like maybe ever. Them being
right. Texas A&M fans, however, like there's not that much media hype about them all the time. There may be some here and there because they always have like good pass rushers and a good defensive line. And they've had really good recruiting classes, just hasn't translated on the field. Yeah. My problem is their fans. Their fans are the most annoying fans ever because they've never won anything. Nope. But that's the only group of people who would actually hand Jimbo Fisher at his announcement ceremony where they announced him as the head coach.
Yep, they sure
handed him a trophy with a date undetermined that says Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M Aggies, college football national champions. That date is never going to be filled out, people. You know why? Because they never won one. And I'm here to tell you, I will be shocked if they ever do.
Because they can't get out of their own way and they bring in the wrong people.
Yeah.
They throw the oil money.
Don't tell that to their fans though. Because they think they're God's gift to everything.
Listen, Jimbo Fisher, he and I are doing the exact same thing right now, which is not coaching college football, and he's getting paid a lot more than I am.
That's right.
Like, I can make that much money to not coach college football. I'm really good at it.
Right. I've been not coaching college football my entire life.
Exactly.
Nobody's paying me. Oh my God! I got 50 years in this business.
Yeah, it's we're professionals at not coaching college football. Pay us $70 million.
I went to college for not coaching college football, man.
That's so funny. I don't know how this game's going to turn out. I would take the under, not even looking at the line. Like, who knows? Like, I think Notre Dame is like because Notre Dame also doesn't have Estime anymore. I don't believe he left. He was like their running back. He was also very good. I take the under, just not even looking at it. Whatever it may be, just take the under.
It's
in College Station.
Didn't Logan Diggs go back to Notre Dame or something, or did he? I don't know. Maybe that was his. He came from Notre Dame. That's what it was. He came from Notre Dame. I was like, did he go back to Notre Dame again? But he had come to Notre Dame at the end of his run there as a late transfer. But I kind of sneaky think maybe Notre Dame wins this game. I don't know.
I think they could.
I'm going against the grain of everybody wants to jump on the Texas A&M bandwagon. I just don't see it yet.
Stupid. The
I know I'm a
bandwagon
hater.
has no wheels.
Yeah, I know I'm an A&M hater,
haters.
but it's easy to be a hater because they're so hateable. So
that's what I mean. It's like they don't make it very difficult. Like they make it very easy for us to just want them nothing good for them all the time. So the line, because I'm thinking about it, is over under 46.5. I take the under. I take the under. Anyway, yep. That's pretty much like all the good college football we have this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm glad everybody's gonna get to see their teams.
That and our games. Our games are,
our games.
You know, and your game is. I think the best game this weekend is probably the LSU-USC game.
Fair enough.
In terms of like high profile, and it's going to be a good game. The other one's Florida-Miami, not real high profile. Notre Dame, Texas A&M is close because it's like one really good team and then one team that is just kind of like, we don't know. I think there's some expectations for USC this year. Now that they're probably expected to finish 5th, I guess, in the Big Ten, if I had to guess. But yeah, Notre Dame, A&M, and LSU, USC are probably the top 2 marquee games this weekend. And then let's not forget, Florida State is playing on Monday Night Football. After that loss to
they just love
Boston College.
Their shit. They're playing Boston College on a Monday night
in Tallahassee. I'd say it's in Tallahassee. It may not be. It is at Doak Campbell Stadium, Bobby Bowden Field in Tallahassee. So yeah.
Good Lord. That's unbelievable.
That's what's going on.
Listen, I think that I'm so happy that my team gets to kick off the good college football, at least to be right there at noon.
Right. At 11 a.m. Well, 11 a.m. my time.
Noon East for the real time zone. Yeah, Eastern time. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I think it goes from there. Don't sleep on the Penn State West. I know that that's like a semi-homer thing for me to say.
Yeah.
But like that place is going to be rocking. From where I live in most places, like it takes the same amount of time. If I were to drive to Pittsburgh and drive to Morgantown, it's like
I was going to say,
from here, where I live.
And West Virginia fans travel. The Mountaineers travel.
And Penn State travels. It's not going to be far for us to go down to Morgantown not us, for them to. I'm talking about Pennsylvania people to
go to Morgantown.
They're going to Morgantown. It's going to be rocking.
Yeah,
it's going to be.
That's the one. Yeah, that's right. You said they played in Happy Valley last year.
They're going to Morgantown this year.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, my bad. I got it twisted. So then you guys. Yeah. So and Morgantown ain't no joke, man. That's LSU went over there. The 2011 team was one of the best teams in the history of college football. Anyway, we're not going to go into all that, but they went to Morgantown when Geno Smith was there, Tavon Austin was there.
Yep.
And I think we won that game by a touchdown or 2, something like that. But it was crazy. And that was the team, I want to say in 2007, I think Shady McCoy, maybe they were playing at Pitt when they beat West Virginia. But it was like that was one of the games that had to happen LSU's way for LSU to make it into the national championship game. It was like USC had to lose. I
feel like Shady's it was even farther back than that, honestly. Shady's way farther back than that.
No, this is in 2007.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, 2007. No, in 2007. In 2007, because he lit West Virginia up and knocked them out. It was it's like West Virginia had to lose that game. Yeah. USC had to beat Arizona State. That's what it was.
Oh, wow.
And then Notre Dame had to beat somebody. And then we needed for Oklahoma to beat Kansas. And then for Missouri to beat Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. And every one of those things happened. And
That's
LSU
crazy.
with 2 losses went to the national championship. We lost 2 triple overtime games that year.
Jesus.
One at home to Arkansas and one on the road to Kentucky. And that was when I think was it Wesley Woodyard was a linebacker at Kentucky. Anyway, it's been a while. But yeah, that was I think Randall Cobb was on that team. I think he might have been quarterback in them. I don't remember.
That's wild.
But yeah, that was back in the old days, man. You were like a little, I don't know, 5-year-old or something.
What, 2007?
Yeah, I'm
not that young. 2007.
I
know. Like I was gonna say, like you're talking about, like, shout out Shady McCoy from West Rival High School.
That's right. But yeah, anyway. that place is crazy, man. I'm looking forward to it. It should be exciting. Well, anyway, we appreciate everybody joining us here today. Go Tigers, go Dogs.
Yes, sir.
It is week 1. We're finally going to get to see our teams touch some grass, go play some football, go hit some other people. Tired of hitting ourselves. Tired of beating up on our brothers. We're ready to go beat up on somebody else.
Other jerseys.
And look, I'll say this: Will Campbell, LSU offensive lineman, left tackle, All-American, said, "I'm just here to tell you, we're going to run the ball. I don't care who knows about it. We're going to run the ball."
That's a guy right there.
And so I'm like,
I don't care who knows about it.
Let's go.
Run through a wall.
I love the running game in football. I like the high-powered offenses and everything, but like I was one of those dudes who, back before the PPR stuff took over fantasy football, I was very much I would draft running back, and then I'll deal with receiver and quarterback later.
Yeah, that's funny.
And so that's just how it would go. And I would wreck people because I had like this stable of like rotating, because we could run 3 running backs in the league that I played in. So it was like, yeah, give me all 3 of them. But yeah, I'm hoping that the little road grader offense can keep some pressure off of Garrett Nussmeier and let him just take some deep shots and light it up.
And hopefully when we convene next week, both of our teams are 1-0 and we're talking about week 2.
That's right.
Yes,
right.
Sir.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
South End Zone. I am Chad. He is Tyler. We appreciate y'all coming through. Don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe. Share it with anybody who likes SEC football, college football, and of course, especially if they're LSU or Georgia fans, or maybe both. I don't know. Like sometimes you never know. Somebody you might have one of those house divided kind of deals.
Yeah.
But yeah, give us a follow, give us a subscription, and get the little bell so you can get the notifications when we put new episodes up. And hopefully, like later on in the year, we can do a few little live shows, maybe during a game or something like that. We're going to stick to recordings for now because it's easier, but we hope to do that when time permits later on. We appreciate you guys joining us. Hope you enjoyed, and we will talk to you guys later. I'm Chad. He's Tyler. South End Zone out. Peace.